Hey guys, and welcome back to this episode of KREC-TECH. We're going to be today looking at email newsletters. What we're going to do is we're going to build a responsive email newsletter in Dreamweaver, and then we're going to design it as well, and we're going to show you how it works when you receive these newsletters or emails which have designs or products or services that are being sold to you or shown to you on your emails, or could be in your spam. But we're going to take our time and we're going to build one. And then once we've done that, we're going to see how it mobilizes when it's in different mobile devices. So if you're excited and you're interested with this episode, please drop a comment below to let me know what you thought of it. And with that in mind, let's get right into it. Hey guys, so welcome to this episode where we're going to be building our newsletter with tables in Dreamweaver, and it's going to be a beautifully designed, responsive newsletter. And just so you can see, for example, on this page here, this is the one that I designed, which is promoting the YouTube channel that I built. And as you can see, I've got the thumbnails for images. And if I was to click on one, for example, that would take me then to the page where the video is, because it's all been linked up correctly. Now, the other aspect as well, so you know I'm not pulling your leg, is if I was to right click and inspect, we're going to see what would happen then when we go into mobile view. So if you click this little button up the top, what that'll do is it will allow your page to go into a responsive mode where you can either choose a drop down option so to size it to what that device would be, or you can pull in the side yourself and you can see what will happen when we hit a certain width, and the page, well, as you can see, springs into action. So it's responsive, and that's how it would appear on a mobile device. So if we just scroll down, we can see that everything is perfectly responding to how we want it to be. We scroll down, see what it looks like on desktop. There you go. So with that in mind, what we're going to do is we're just going to close this, and we're going to close this. And here we go. So what I've got in front of you, as you can see, is Dreamweaver. And this here essentially is the application that we're going to be using, an Adobe application, to build our newsletter. And it's perfect because it allows you to be able to see exactly what you're creating, because everything here is instant. So essentially, if I create something, if I type a table and I add some images to it, then the minute I refresh, it will appear straight away over here on this side, which is actually what we want. So then if I also click on something on the left, as you can see, it highlights that section where it is as well. So with that in mind, what we're going to do is very quickly, as you can see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. It springs to the side, unfortunately, because the page is quite wide. So if I was to zoom out, you can see the code comes more into play. But if I was to zoom in, then the code pushes to the side because of the layout of the tables. But we're going to be going into that and you're going to see for yourself as well. But take one last look at this and you can see the code. And with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and select. I'm going to get rid of that because we don't need that anymore. And we're even going to go ahead and we're going to close this down. Do we want to save that? Well, we already have a copy, so we're going to not touch that. And now we're going to go up to the top in File, New, and then make sure you got New Document, HTML selected, None, and you're just going to go straight away and click Create. And there is your beginning platform. Right, so here we go. Now, what we're going to start off with very quickly, because I always like to keep things clean, and I'm also going to be moving fairly quickly as well, because we do have a lot to cover, but I'll explain as we go as best as I can. So at the top, we're going to say, responsive email newsletter, because we want to make sure that we title it so we can see what essentially we're building, and also appear in our title. It just keeps things nice and tidy. Now, if you watched the episode of the crash course in HTML, I would have explained what this is. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to push down, and we are going to start off with putting some combinated code because it's good to keep things clean. By the way, if you haven't seen the crash course in HTML, I am going to put a card just above so you can click on that link and that will take you straight to it. Now, back to this, what we're going to do is, from what you saw on the newsletter, we need to create our header section. So we're just going to go ahead first of all, say header section. And then what we're also going to do as well is we're going to say below that, because I like when I create things to make sure I section everything, and then I will start building it. So I have the comments, so I can always go back and refer to it. I can say title section. Then I'm going to say thumbnail card section with titles. That's all we had. And then we had a click to action to subscribe. And then we also had our footer with logo and copyright. And that's it. That is basically the layout of what we had. Now, it is just a bunch of commented code, but we're going to go ahead now and we're going to start. Now, the one thing to remember is everything you create inside Dreamweaver is going to be in tables. And this is something that you're going to get a lot of practice with when you're building newsletters. But remember, tables at first will seem very complicated because you have a table. You then also have a TR, a table row. And then you also have table data. Okay, so essentially your content will sit inside of the TED. Now remember one thing with this though is a table can sit inside of a table, and this is why it gets complicated. This is where a lot of people take a while to get used to this, because it's called nesting a table. So you would put, for example, a table inside of a table, and you could go ahead, you can say TR, TD again, and you can go ahead and put another one. And you can just keep repeating this process again and again and again and again. And this is why eventually you have something like a staircase that will just keep going down all the way down the page if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Okay, so what we're going to be working with at the moment is we're going to start off by encapsulating our entire email within a table. And I'll explain why we have to do that. So to begin with, I'm just going to start off with my table. I'm also going to have my table row. And then I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to have a TED. Now, whoop, sorry about that. Let me just get rid of this. Now we have that. We also need to encapsulate everything. So, like you would have a closing body, you also must have a closing TD, TR, table. Okay. Now, it looks confusing at first, but please bear with it. And as you can see, this is our start of our table, because yes, it's inside the body, but this is our main table and this is our closing main table. And inside here in our comments, this is all the content that's going to sit within inside the entire body. Now, again, if this doesn't make sense, please take your time when learning this and repeat the process over and over. But I hope by the end of this video, this will start to make a bit more sense. Now, remember one thing with tables, okay, is that you must nest them within one another, because they will that's what creates the responsiveness. So I'm going to show you, for example, if I was to say table and it takes certain parameters, the parameters are cell padding, which you would put as 0. You will give it a cell spacing of 0. We're also going to say we want to give it a border of 0. And then we're going to align it. This is very key. Our main encapsulating table, we want to align it center. We're also going to do something else very interesting, okay? And this is very important. The first thing you must do for your main table is we're going to say we want to give this a width of 100%. Now I'm just going to go ahead quickly and I'm going to zoom in a bit more so you can see that more clearly. Cell padding, cell spacing, a border, align, and width 100%. Now what you've noticed as well is, like HTML course, we created, the web page that we created, our first one, we used classes and we created styles within those classes and called them on our tags. In Dreamweaver, when creating newsletters, we're going to be doing inline styling, which means we're going to be essentially putting our styles in our tags instead of classes. So you can call classes as well. But with this, we're not going to. The only class we're going to call is going to be something that's going to allow us to create it to mobilize. So all these details need to be there. Now, although we've done that, here, this is the closing table. And over here, what will happen is, although you can't see anything at the moment, essentially, this is the whole body now. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you so you can see exactly what just happened, is I'm going to say again, repeat the process. I need to now create a nested table, in this nested table, I want cell padding. Again, cell spacing. And I'm going to give this a border. And I'm going to align this center. And I want to give this a width of 600. And let's see. Oh, first of all, remember what we need to do. We have a table. We have our TR, which is very important as well. And now, TD. Sorry about this. Now, although we've got all of that, which is wonderful, we need to go ahead and close them. And we essentially just want to see what happens. So over this side, you've got a little bit at the top. Now, the reason why you've got that really odd black line that's appeared at the top is because there's no height to this table. You've just given 100% width. Also, what I want to quickly do up the top, you can see you got live, you got a little arrow. Now, live is what you would see if you were viewing on like a web page, as an example, but we're just going to pop that into design for a second. So we can help see what tables actually look like because it will define it a little bit better. What I'm going to do here in this table, although we have a width, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to add our height. And I'm going to say height, let's try 600. And there we go. As you can see, you've now got a table. And this here, this outside, is the 100% width table, which encapsulates everything. And then this table inside is the one over here. And this is your 600 pixel table. The width and the height is both 600. And you said you wanted to align center. So within the 100 width table, you're aligning center this one. So now you've got a table nested in a table. And this is where it's going to start getting a little bit trickier as we go on, because we're going to have a lot of tables nested within one another, but you're going to see why that's the case and what it's going to allow us to do. So I'm going to start moving quite quickly now, and I'm going to start implementing certain sections, and please follow along with me and try your best with this. But if you get stuck, do rewind the video and give it another go and keep repeating the process until it becomes second nature. So on that note, let's get straight into it. So we've got our table. Now, although we have a height of width 600 pixels, we're just going to leave that for a moment as well. Now, these comment sections, I'm going to move them into the sections as we need them. So for example, let's start with our header section. Now we have our table here. Inside, I'm going to say, I'm going to now do my header section. So we've got table. Inside this table, we're going to have our row. Inside there, we're going to have our table data. And that is going to be what's going to sit at the top. Now, I'm going to, inside of here, have, let's say we want to have an image. I'm going to say image, source, and I actually, let's see, what do I have? So with our image, what we're going to do now is we're going to find some images, but I do have them saved already. So just in case you don't as well, if you want to grab your images, you can quite easily save them into a folder, which is located within the same location as your newsletter. And then you can call it by just doing -images and choosing the image you want. Now, as you can see at the top, I've got my first one, which is my header image, which is exactly what's located on my YouTube channel. And if I /close that, now we're just going to see what happens. Now, it looks like nothing has appeared. Well, let's have a little peek. What happens if we just jump into live view? Nothing. What could be the cause of that? Well, let's have a little look. If we went up to here and we just remove that /, there we go. It appears perfect. Now, we're going to jump back into design. And as you can see, the page is stretched. Now, although the table here, yes, is width 600, unfortunately with images, if they are larger than 600 width pixel, they will just expand out of the table. And that can break a newsletter and that can stop it being responsive. So this is where our inline styling is going to come in handy. And inside our image, we're just going to say style equals quote max width. And we're going to say we want that to be 600. Okay, so let's just close the space. And then we're going to close that. And there we go, 600 pixels. Now what should happen as well is our table will spring into action. Now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take this off. And there we go. So we remove that table and it's wrapping around this. And as you can see, what it would look like in live view as well is it's sitting at the top. So exactly where we want it to be. Now, what we had as well next after this was we had our text, which came just underneath our title. Okay, so here, although we've had a header section and we've now got our one table, which includes our image, we also need to go ahead and I'm just going to add in here this content into this table because we should always keep that within there. But I'm going to jump as well into design so you can see exactly what's going on. Now, our next section, remember what we've got here is our one table, which is encapsulating our image. This is our inner table. I'm just going to go ahead and label this as well. Inner whole table. And I think it'd be handy if I just add another comment up here. Encapsulating table of whole newsletter. There we go. Perfect. Now, close this gap. Or actually, no, we're going to fill that with this one. I'm going to take that, our next section. Now, what you'll notice as well is I'm about to do something. And I'm going to, rather than having a TD, TR, again, what we're going to do is we're going to keep this closing one. And you can have a table back to back. So it's going to look a little something like this. Take that. And you're going to repeat. Oh, sorry, keeping capitals on there. And there you go. You keep it going. You can have a table back to back all the way down the page. Sometimes it's quite handy having it like that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and close this table. And now we need to add our title. So first things first, what we're going to say is we're going to add, let's go for H3. We're going to say KREC-TECH. Oh, can't even spell it now. KREC-TECH. And then underneath KREC-TECH, we're going to have a P tag. And this is going to be our logo. So design, build. Because that's what we like to do. We like to design and then we like to build it. Or we could do the other way around. Build, design, which is actually is what is on here. Anyways, moving on from that one. Now, although we got our title, what happens if we just refresh? Well, okay, perfect. You know, it's here. That's great. But it's not exactly sitting where we want it to sit. And although it's in a table that is, yes, it's center, which the table is, but we're not telling what we want the text to be doing. So we're going to go ahead and let's say, we're going to say in our table, we're actually going to give the table a style because we've only got our title in this section. So we're just going to say text align and we want to center that. And there we go. Text align center. Now it's exactly where we want it to be. Now, another little trick as well is, as you can see, this logo is too close to our text. We need to give it some space. Now, to do that, there's many options you have, but the one that we're going to do in this case is we are going to add a TR, TD, have them close in, and in this little section right here, we're going to say height equals, and we're going to just give that height of 20. And that then, what it's going to do is it's within the same table, but we're going to add another row, and this row is just going to be an empty space. And it's going to allow us to push the text down. And that means as well, we can very easily just edit at any point. We can change it to whatever we desire. And there we go. And then when it goes into mobile view, if there's too much space, we can just give that class a display none, but we'll go into that later. Now, same down here, we want to keep it nice and clean. So actually I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to TR, TD, height, and I'm going to give that 20. So it's all perfectly equaled out and symmetrical. So now we have our title. We are not going to start it too much at this moment. We just want to get the content on it. We just want to build. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start with this section here. We're going to start creating our thumbnail. Let's zoom in one more and we're going to pop that there. Let me just add some space as well because I like to look a little bit neater. There we go. Now, thumbnail section. This here is going to start with our table, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take this table here, speed things up because this is exactly what we need. TR, TD, and we're going to close that. Now, this is where it's going to start to get a little bit confusing, especially if this is your first newsletter. Now, we need to now nest tables in tables, and it's going to look a little bit odd at first. So I'm going to show you what that's going to look like. We have our first one, which is a little bit in here. I'm just going to give that quickly some height. And we're just going to say 500, okay? So in here, we're going to nest 4 thumbnail images and text underneath that thumbnail image. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say table. And this is going to be the first 2 thumbnails. So we're going to work in pairs of 2. And we're going to say in our first table, which is going to be within here like this. And then down here, you're going to have another one. This one here, we want it to be same as the top thing. So we're going to say copy that actually, because we can take that one. We're going to paste that there. We're going to get rid of this height because we don't need that for now. But with this width, we want to keep that 600. However, because bearing in mind again, as we mentioned, this table here is going to hold 2 of our thumbnails. So this table will hold all 4, and then we're going to create another table that's going to hold 2 of them. And the reason why, again, the more tables you have encapsulating, it allows more free reign for later on down the line when you want to really start styling things up. And as you can see, all of a sudden, look, we're creating that staircase. So we've got table. Remember, we don't want no padding or no spacing. We can do that with the TR and TD heights that we have. We want to make sure we've got our widths on every table. And on this one here in particular, we're just going to keep that as it is. This is our 2 table. 2 thumbnail table. And then this here, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to push this down and I'll jump this back a bit so you can see all of it. And I want to say here, single thumbnail table, and watch what happens. Okay, so we had this table here. Now I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that, and this is our single one, remember. But the difference is I'm going to change that to just 250. And rather than center align it, we don't need that style to start with. I'm going to left align. Now I know that it seems a bit weird, but just bear with me on this one. Now we're going to go ahead so you can see what it looks like. We're going to add our image. So we're going to go ahead and say images. Find thumbnail 1. Now remember, the image will expand massively because it's larger than 250. So we say style, max width, and we're going to go 250 pixels. Close that. Not just yet, before anything appears, I've got one more thing to do, and we're going to add our title. So we're just going to say again, H3, first web page build. Okay, and that is it. You ready for this? There we go. Look at that. Wonderful. Now, it looks a little bit odd at first. Just watch what happens when we go ahead and we add our second one. But what I want you to realize here is that we have to stay within this table because this is holding 2 of them. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this instead. This one table that we built, I'm going to go ahead, copy that. Remember, that's one. That's our second one. Okay. Here, paste that. Let's just make that a little bit neater. There we go. Now I'm going to change the image. So we're going to go ahead and say number 2, which is what we want. HTML crash course. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. Same details, same max width, same align left, same width up here, same table, nothing is different. However, what happens? Oh, got one little error on here. Okay, and the reason why? Aha, right. Because it's not a PNG, it's a JPEG. And refresh. And there we go. Perfect. Look at that. Now you have 2 tables sitting beside one another, and you also have them sitting inside of the 2 table. So you got 2 inside of 1, inside of another one. And I realized when I first took this on and I used to learn tables, it used to really confuse me. I had to picture those as a wardrobe, and inside that wardrobe was boxes, and inside that boxes was another box, and inside that was a wardrobe. Everyone has their own way of being able to grasp how tables are done. But what I want you to bear with on this one is that as we move forwards, I want you to go back and I want you to do it again and just keep repeating. Now, we've done this. We now need to go ahead and do it again, but underneath. Okay, so the easiest method that we're going to do, because we don't need to make it complicated, is we're just going to take these 2 tables, and then the one there. Okay, so drag it all the way down. Oh, what we do as well, actually, keep it nice and neat, is we're going to drag everything to 2 thumbnails. Okay, so remember, you can put a table back to back. So if I was to paste that there, although let me just clean this up a little bit because it's a bit messy. Pull that back. Oh, I'll be right back with this one. Okay, there we go, and we're back. So now if I was to refresh, 2 more would appear down here, but we don't want that. Okay, so we want 2 different images. I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to click number 3 and change that because that's again a JPEG. We don't have a 4th image for now because this video is going to be our 4th one. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to grab our first one again, and we're going to add that back in. PNG, perfect. And then leave that as our first web page build. And this here is just going to be 13 kilobyte JavaScript games, which were incredible. And now, ready for this? There we go. Look at that. Perfect. Now you have 4 of your thumbnails sitting inside of 2 tables, which hold them, and inside of a large table. So everything now is encapsulated. But what you will notice as well, let's say, for example, we jump into live view. What does it look like? Well, there's a small error. They seem to be sitting almost to the left, which is fine. It's perfectly okay because that's exactly what we asked it to do. Let me show you why is what we said to sit left, because as you can see, they were perfectly left aligned. However, if I was to go ahead and let's just take the top one and I was to make that center, well, what would happen? It would break out. And the reason why, again, is because when they're left aligned, they pushed against one another. But when it's centered, it can't sit centered because this one is taking up too much space. So what it does is it will jump out of the table, which again is going to cause a lot of problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep that as left, but we still want to make these sit centered within the table. So how do we do that? Well, this is where we're going to have to nest another table. The reason why is because we're going to say we want these tables this time round, okay, is we're going to say inside with our single table, we're going to put you inside of another one. And we're going to do that. And this table here is going to wrap this one. Let me just make some space so it makes a bit more sense. There we go. Okay. this table is going to wrap this one. And if I close that, oh, there we go. If I close that, but I make this still left and I make it a little bit bigger, let's say 300. This here, the inside one, I want it to be centered. What happens? Well, there you go. And what happens now is, because you have, well, let me just quickly, I want this to look as clear as possible and to be as understandable, to be easily understood, because I know this can get very confusing quite easily. Okay, is I want you to see how if all of this here, I push that down one, oh, where it should be, same as this, and I'm going to pull these back. There we go. So this table is the wider one, this is the inside table, and this is 300 pixels left align, and this is 200 pixels sitting inside of it, but that's going to be centered with inside of it. And because it's 250, there's a little bit extra space on both sides when it's centered. So if I did the same process here, if I took this table, if I copy that, stick that one above this table, and again, pull this back so it looks nice and neat. We're going to bear in mind we don't want to, these two here, this table was our top encapsulating table. So we have to make sure that we push that down and create another, because we've got one above. And let's pull these back. And watch this. Left, 300 pixels. Centered inside one, 250 pixels, and there we go. That is the process for pushing them centered aligned with their own spaces still. Now, what I'm going to very quickly do is I'm going to clean this code right up, and I'm going to do the same for these two, and I'm going to be back in just one moment. I have cleaned things up a little bit now. So what we need to do first of all is just have a little look through here. No, I'm just going to zoom in. Oh. Okay, so start from the top. As we showed, thumbnail section encapsulates everything. Then we had a two thumbnail section, which has a single, it's our first. And inside our first, we have a large table and we have a small table holding the image and the text. Then going down, we have our second thumbnail. Again, large box, smaller one in the middle. And then we have our image inside of that, and we have our text. And then we come down and we close our single, we close our two table, and then we encapsulate the whole thing. Okay? And then we go down, we do the same thing with the next two. And so it's all cleaned up. One thing I want everyone to know as well is that I will include all of this code as well in the description below. So please make sure you do check that out, and you can download it and follow along as well. So now that we've done this section, we're just going to quickly have a look. What does it look like when we're going into live view? Oh, well, it's broken. Now that's interesting, and I want to show you what exactly is going on here, because live view is very important. Now the reason why is because these tables are too close. Now, let me just give an example. Okay, if I made that 250, it would spring back into action. So although even in design it may seem okay, in live view there needs to be a little bit of space still available, because otherwise if they are absolutely pixel to pixel, they will break. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to make a few quick little changes to spring these back into action in live view. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to make that, let's just say for now, 275. We're also going to do the same down here, 275. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to say, same here, 275 and 275. And there we go. and they should pop back up. There we go. Now there is a bit of space over here as well. And again, this is where we can get one step further. And tables nesting tables can be an absolute headache sometimes. But watch what happens, okay? So because we gave it a bit more space and they spring into action, now although we have our overall table here, we have this overall table which encapsulates 2 boxes. We need to center align these. And one of the ways to do that, let's just go ahead and let's just, oh, we can't do that. That will break. We're just gonna change the width of the overall table. Let's give that 560. And there you go. Pops into shape. And it will spring back up. All we're doing is just reducing the size of the top table. Okay? So, live works fine. Design, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and here do the same thing. And now you've got all these different lines. These are just because we've got borders on. We'll change the borders later on. We just want it for design purposes for the time being. Okay? So we're going to go ahead up here again. We're going to say 560. And that springs into shape. So now we have that section. We're not going to worry about it for the time being. We're going to leave that and we can now jump ahead into design and we can scroll down and we can deal with our next bit. And we can do our click to action to subscribe. So guys, please, if you enjoyed this video, do let me know in the comments what you thought of it and, subscribe to help out and stay up to date with future videos. So we're going to scroll down and see that this here is our last closing table. It looks like we are missing a closing table. So this here is actually our inner table. And I'm going to show you what happens. We're just going to add one more because it looks like our very first table we created is missing its closing section. And watch on the left hand side what happens. There we go. So it's reminding itself that this inner table has to sit inside the 100 pixel table that we first created. I'm just going to pop this over here so they're out of the way. There we go. Okay, now pull this up as well. We'll clean up and make it look a little bit neater later on. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and leave that as that was and start with our click to action subscribe section. So let's just bring that up a bit, pop that in, and we're going to start with outside of this section, which was our closing thumbnail. We're going to create a new one. We're going to start with our table, but we're just going to go ahead and let's copy this one. And we want to change our align to center. Make it 600 and TR, as you already know, enter there, TD, and let's close a table. Let's say table close, and inside of our TD, we're going to go ahead and give that an image. Because remember, our subscriber section had some text that had an image. What we're going to do actually is before we put that image, very quickly, I'm going to leave that and I want in here for there to be my text. So I'm going to say H2, not just 2, click below to subscribe. And then I'm going to add my image. Let's say images, subscribe button. And remember, the subscribe button is bigger than actually what I want it to be. It's just going to absolutely blow up on the page and encapsulate everything. So I'm just going to add a style inside the image. Oh, if I don't add this style, it won't do anything. And I'm going to say I want it to be, I'm going to go with 200 pixels. And let's see what that looks like. And let's just refresh, scroll down. Okay, it looks interesting. I want that button actually. I want to make that a little bit bigger. Just 250. Perfect. And now we need everything to be centered. So a little trick here, you watch this, inside your TD, we're going to say align yourself centered. Because it's just data. What's inside of that table, we're going to align it centered. And there we go. I'm happy with that. Perfect. Looks good. There's a little bit of space, however, between the H2 and the image. So what we're going to do very quickly is we're just going to sort that out. We're going to go in here. And we're going to margin 0 pixels. And that is going to drop that a little bit. Now, it looks like the image has some spacing on it, which is how it would have been designed when it was taken for Photoshop. So we're going to leave that for the time being because I kind of like the fact that it's got a little bit of space in there. Now, again, what we're going to do is check live view. What do you look like in there? Scroll down and perfect. I'm happy with that. Looks great. All we need left is our footer. Now, the footer section, down the bottom here, we're going to add, let's just tab that. We're going to take all of this actually, because we're actually creating a footer that is very similar in the layout. So why type it all out again when you actually have a very similar layout? But the difference was with this section, and we're just going to, just to break it off a little bit, we're going to say footer section end. There we go. Okay, so here what we had was we had a background color, so we're going to go and give that a in BG color equals quote hashtag black, so 6 zeros. Okay, let's have a peek down the bottom. Oh, nothing's happened. Why has nothing happened? Let's have a step further look into this. Well, if we go ahead and take that off to begin with, and there you go. Sorted. Now, in here, this H2, we don't need H2 actually. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to give that just a span tag. And we're going to say KREC-TECH 2019. Now remember, in the HTML course, there's a little entity you can use, which is and copy and then colon, which is your copyright mark. And the other thing I want you to remember as well is we can't see any text, which means that we need to just give this a color. And in this moment, I'm going to jump ahead and we're just going to color this a little bit. And we're just going to make it white. Okay, so then you can see the text. We're also going to, on the end of this span tag, well, actually, we're going to leave this because originally the image was above the text. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this around. Let's cut that. Let's drop that down. Image in, and let's change this image for our logo. But let's make our logo smaller. Let's try 125. What does that look like? A little bit big. We're just going to make that smaller again. Let's go 90 pixels. And let's also just add a break tag on the end here, so it doesn't interfere with the text. Perfect. Look at that. Excellent. And there we go. And now we just want to very quickly as well add underneath our table, remember the TR with the height? So then we can push it away from the edge. We're just going to add 15. Don't want to go too over the top. Take that, copy, and then underneath we're going to do the exact same. Add some space in and perfect. Beautiful. Now that, if you remember from the original design, that is very, very close. The only thing we need to change is here with this text, we need to add a class. No, we need to add a style, sorry, of text align. And we're going to add center to that text align. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you. There we go. And we're going to take this style. We're going to copy that. We're going to drop that into each of these tables because, again, we need it to be across all of them. And then we're going to watch it spring into action. And there we go. Brilliant. So from the looks of it, that's that part done, because we've now coded all the sections. We've got our logo, we've got our text, we've got our subscribe button and a piece of text telling us to subscribe. We've got our 4 images with their text inside of it. We've also got a little bit of our title, our sort of logo subtitle bit, and our cover image. Perfect. Okay, so that is that part done. Now what we're going to do is we are going to jump forward and we are going to go on to the next bit. And with this, what we're going to do is we need to do our styling. We also need to link up our bits and pieces. So alt tags as well. Alt tags, just so you know, these are, for example, in this image here, if we add a alt tag, which would be just oh, and then we would put something like the description of what it is: new videos every week, KREC-TECH, subscribe. So you're essentially describing what it is by adding the words that are on the picture into your alt tag, because people who are struggling or visually impaired, in that sense, like visually can't see your newsletter, a screen reader will read it out for them, and it reads from the alt tags. That's why you don't have capital letters or you have a screen reader shouting at the person. So very quickly, I'm just going to add some alt tags to our images, because whenever you create a newsletter, the most important thing is to make sure that you add all of the bits and pieces in it that make up a professional looking newsletter. With this one here, go ahead, let me just put on, off, and we might add a little bit more description: on, off, JavaScript, games, because we don't just want to have the word on, off. And then here again, we're going to go ahead and add easy, web page, build. And I hope so far as well what we've been doing makes sense, because it is a lot to take in. And I think ultimately, as difficult as it can be at first to understand tables, once you grasp the concept, everything will not only make sense and become a lot easier to put together, but you will actually start to create some incredibly looking newsletters and do some really advanced and fancy designs. So, you know, do your best not to get too discouraged at first, but just keep working at it. So what we're going to do now is we've added our alt tags. We need to add links now, because if someone clicks on the image, we want them to go to that location. So what we're going to do is we're going to say around. Now the A tag, which is what it is a href, which is what a link is, and inside these 2 quote marks is where your link is going to go. Now you have to remember as well though, if you just wrap the image in an alt tag, so if it was like that, and then you took this and you put that after, well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it will style the text, which you will need to change after, and that's great. So now the image and the text is linked. However, if I was to then click on this, it will actually take me away from the newsletter, which is not what we want to do. So to stop being taken away from the newsletter and having to go back to find it, you will just put a target blank, which opens the link up in a new tab. So then you can have the newsletter still available. And what that is now done is now these 2 haven't got a link going somewhere yet because we haven't added a link. So all we're going to do is now we're just going to jump on YouTube, and I'm just going to jump ahead and I'm going to grab the links very quickly, and I will be right back. Okay, so welcome back. I know there was a little bit of a skip there very quickly, but what we've just done is I've gone ahead and, just to save time rather than repeating the process, I just linked up everything very quickly, but I'm going to show you how it worked. So if you can see from the top, I've taken the image, I've wrapped it in an A tag here, A space href equals quote mark, and then the link target blank, so it opens up a new tab, and then I wrap the A tag after that. Same as with the title here, did the same. A tag, wrapped it just after the KREC-TECH and left out the design and build. And I did it all over here as well with the thumbnails. So same thing. I wrapped the image and the text in an A tag with a target blank on all 4 of these. So as you can see, nice and neat. Just jump in again one more. You can see that. And then down the bottom, all I did was I linked up as well our image in an A tag and a logo as well, because all these things are, well, they look clickable. So therefore, why would we not want to make them clickable? So with that in mind, now what we're going to do is we need to go and start to style the links as well, because unfortunately the links have gone and taken a bit of a different color, which is the default. Whenever you wrap something in an A tag, the default color is going to be blue. And also when it clicks, it will start to then go to a different color, which is purple, I believe. So we're just going to, on the text, we're going to add a little bit of styling. So for example, with this A tag in particular, we're going to start ahead and we're going to go style. And let's say we want to increase the font size to begin with. So font size, let's see, what does 20 look like? Because yeah, 20 looks good. And also we want to say, let's give it a color of just black. So 6 zeros. And then we also want give, because we want to remove the underline. So we're just actually going to say, text decoration, none. We don't want anything on there. And there we go. Lovely. And so then we're going to go ahead and leave these 2 bits for a moment as well. And we're going to go and repeat the process. Oh, missing a letter here. Let me just add a T. There we go. And now we just want to go ahead and style these. So we're just going to copy the style. But first of all, we're going to do the same thing. Let's jump back one here. Pull it out a little bit. And style. And we're going to say font size is going to be 15 pixels. And we want the color. We're just going to keep it simple for now. Because of time, you can always go ahead and change the color. You can go ahead and, for example, if you make it red, go ahead and make it red. And we are also going to say text decoration. Oh, none. And very quickly, we're just going to take that and copy it. As you can see, that's 1. A tag again, that's 2. 3. And you can see I'm just grabbing the text on the left-hand side just to highlight it on the right to speed things up. And there you go. Easy peasy. And down here, we'll leave that because that looks okay. And then we just want to maybe increase this one a little bit more. So on the span, after the color, let's just give maybe that a size of 15 pixels. So, oh, actually, no, it's a little bit too small. Let's say 18. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now, I'm happy with that. I think it's coming along quite nicely. What we need to now do, which is another quite important thing, is mobilize it. So to mobilize and make it responsive in every device, we need to now actually add some classes. And this is going to be the biggest probably part of, well, I say biggest part. This is going to probably be a big challenge when it comes to understanding newsletters. The most important thing is making it mobilize in every device, because people tend to view their emails quite a lot on mobile devices now. You don't often really open your laptop to look at your emails. So the most important thing is making sure it's easy to read. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start to mobilize that. And also one more thing before we do is you can also make the text look a little bit neater as well by adding maybe some fonts in there as well. I'm just going to very quickly show you how that would work. If we go ahead and we go and jump on to, let's say, font, Google, and we're just going to go and grab, let's say we will take something nice and easy, Open Sans. And then if you click on the plus, and then once you've got it here, I'm going to go ahead and take this link. Because this link, we'll get rid of that page, we won't need that now, is going to allow you to then, up the top, pop that in there. Okay, now that means we can now call that font. So Open Sans is the font, And what I mean is, let's say we highlight this, we go into our style and we say, there you go. And what we're going to just do actually is we're just going to very quickly go ahead and you know what? We're just going to change that as well, because you know what? Let's actually make it look nice and neat. You know, there we go. And we're going to do the same for down here. We're going to go ahead and very quickly, we're just going to stick in that one. In all the A tags, the new font family, because we want to keep it consistent. We do not want our newsletter to look messy. And I'm quite a perfectionist. I like things to be very neat and nice looking. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start adding everything in, and I'm going to change all of them. So now all of a sudden, if I go ahead and refresh, there we go. Everything is in open sans. So now we've done that, we need to mobilize. Okay. So with this part, jump to the top, and in your head, we need to now make some space. And here we're just going to say class for mobilizing. Okay. Now we need to start with a style. And inside this, if you know anything about CSS, or if you don't worry, because there'll be a course on that coming soon. CSS is all these styles, for example, you see. So max width, or where you see with color has been this and font size has been that. That's your CSS. That is your styling. So what we're going to do is inside here, we're going to create some classes. And what a class is, when you put that on here, if we said on this table, class equals something, what it means is that if in here I had, let's say, center, and you do, your class starts with a dot, then center, and in here if I had text align, center, that means now in here, if I put in this table center as my class, now all of a sudden it will become center, because you're calling in this table, you're calling this piece of CSS. Okay, so what we need to do instead is we need to say that at a certain width we want our page to mobilize. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, we're just going to save this, and then we're going to down here in the bottom right open it up in Google Chrome. And the first thing we want to do is we want to know at what point do we want to mobilize it. So let's just right click, inspect, and start to scroll in. As we scroll, and then as we hit, let's see, so it breaks at this point. As you can see, we get to 600 and nothing's happening. So we want to break it. Once we get to 600 pixels, we then want to go and make it mobilize. So let's jump back into our Dreamweaver, into our table, and up the top, we're going to say at media screen only, and max width is 600 pixels. Then in here, do something. Oh, sorry, did something wrong there. Media only screen and max width pixels 600. There we go. Now what we're going to say, let's go with width 90, let's say width 100, which means that that class will make everything, that will make something 100%. And let's also have a width 90. So that means that when that class is called, it will make something 90% width. Okay, so we got our classes up the top. We got our width 100 and our width 90. And these classes, again, as I said, is saying that when this class is sitting on one of our tables, it will call 100%, or it will go to 100%, or it will go to 90% once it gets to a width of 600 pixels in mobile. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and I'm going to start adding classes now, which is going to call these widths when it gets to that width pixel. And then we're going to see on this side what happens. Now, in design, you won't see it mobilize, but to be able to see a preview, you can go into live. So on this side here, what we're going to do is we are just going to zoom in slightly like that. Okay, so you can see now we've zoomed in a little bit and it's almost as though we're going into a mobile type view, but just by zooming in Dreamweaver. And we can see already that it's broken. It's not mobilizing because we haven't had our classes added. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to add classes to each of the tables because the classes we want to put on the tables that is holding the content. And then when they have mobilized and when they're working, this here will spring into shape. So that will make more sense as we go through. So to start with, what we're going to do is, by the first step, add classes to all tables that are more than 600, or so all classes that are more than 320 pixels. Because if it's less than 320 pixels and it's by itself, then it doesn't necessarily need a class because it won't break in mobile. However, if it's more, then we do. So let's just go ahead and start saying, as this one has 600 pixels, it is width, and we're just going to say we're going to give you a width of 100. And same here, width of 100. And before we do anything here, we're just going to go through and we're going to have a look. Same as images. Images, you should put classes on inside of the image tag. And that is to ensure that it mobilizes as well. So we're going to keep going down. Same here. Now, I'm going to try and move rather quickly just so you don't get too caught up on this, but please do try to follow along as best as you can. As I realize as well that understanding classes as well within tables is almost like a double whammy, because you're not only learning classes and tables, but you're also trying to remember to put alt tags, A tags, TR, TDs, the whole 9 yards. Now here as well, what we're going to do is because you know this is a single thumbnail, we want that to be sitting by itself in its own row. So we want to say that single thumbnail, go 100%. So you're on your own row. We're going to jump down. We're going to do the same again to the next one. We're going to say class width. You know what? Rather than typing that constantly, we're just going to copy that. And let's scroll down even further. Let's keep going. Again, class 100%. Same here. You know, and the one thing with tables that I found was sometimes just repetition or by starting to build your own thing from scratch. So even if like there's no images, maybe just try and create a couple of boxes with different colors and then just see what happens when you put those together, and there we go. Right, now I've added all of my classes. I'm going to go over it and I'm going to refresh and let's see what happens. Okay, interesting. So as you can see, it's still, something's still breaking it. However, everything has moved slightly. So these are all in their own row. And let's just scroll up. Okay, so what could be breaking it? Well, let's jump to the top. Have a little look. Sorry. We're going to put a class here on our top one as well. And let's see what happens. So there's something missing. Now, the best thing to do when something is missing or it's still breaking is just to scroll through and have a little look on each thing. So class 100, yep, 100, perfect. Scrolling through again, we don't need it there. We've got down the correct table. Yep, absolutely. There we go. See, so we're just double checking and reaffirming ourselves that we've covered all the tables with the classes. And then we're just going to keep looking. And you'll find there's always, whenever it doesn't mobilize, there's always one table that is missing something. And is this it? It was missing the width. And there you go. And exactly that. There's always one table that either has a misspelling or it could just be missing a class. And look at that. It's just sprung into shape. So what I'm going to do now, because as you can see, it's mobilizing in Dreamweaver, we need to make 100% sure, is it working? Let's just save that. Go down here, Google Chrome, and we're going to now finally test to see, is it finished? Have we done the job? Well, there's all of our design. And now we're just going to inspect, and we're going to scroll in, and there you go. Hit 600 pixels and it starts to mobilize. And we're going to do one extra thing because we don't want those borders. So what we're going to do is Command F, because I'm on a Mac, and we're going to say border. Down here, this is find and replace. So border, anything that has a border of 1. And then you click this here. This is to say replace it with, and we're going to say border 0. We're going to replace those. Then we're going to save that. Jump back over to here. Reload. And there we go. And there is your responsive email newsletter. Congratulations, well done. You've just completed your email responsive newsletter. Now guys, please remember, if you've enjoyed this video, if this was helpful to you, do hit that subscribe button and smash that like, and please remember to subscribe as well because they will be weekly videos. So thank you very much for tuning into this one, and I will see you next time.